Hey everybody! Welcome to another episode. This is a special episode of Aches and Gainz with Doc and Donnie. I am Dr. Hayes Estes, Doctor of Physical Therapy, owner of Premier Physical Therapy here in Clearwater, Florida. That gentleman over there, right there.
The big guy.
Who are you? Introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm just the entertainment. That's all I am.
Yeah. You're
obviously
gonna be,
my shoulder won't fit into the screen here.
You're
so
going to be very, very.
Yeah.
You're going to be outsmarted today. Outsmarted.
It's a day that ends in Y, right? Here I am.
Who are you?
I'm Donnie. I'm a coach here for athletes and people who are trying to get better at whatever they enjoy doing. Right here in Clearwater, Florida, Strength and Performance Institute. And I'm gonna let Hayes introduce our guest.
Yeah. So we have a special guest today. All right, this is my buddy.
Like short bus special.
Yeah, sure. Yes, yeah. We have Justin
right?
Price. Justin and I have known each other since we were 6 years old.
Oh, yeah.
That's like 4 or 5 decades.
Long effing time. Yeah, a long effing time. Justin is the owner of Aspire Fitness and Wellness. Did I say that correctly?
Correct.
In Charleston, South Carolina. Our we grew up there. Whatever.
We grew up there.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And Justin's also a Czech practitioner, and honestly, even as a physical therapist, a lot of times I will go to Justin to get some ideas for some of my patients because he's that freaking smart. Ooh. He also is what I like to call a waste of athletic talent. That's because Justin,
probably very true.
Justin neglected to play any sort of sport growing up or in high school, yet at the age of 14 could take a dodgeball and from a 2-foot flat jump could dunk it. So there you have it. Justin, welcome.
Thank you for bringing me to the podcast.
Tell us a little about yourself.
Other than my lackluster sports career.
Yeah.
So, which probably led me to doing what I'm doing is because I was like, I mean, as we all know, if you can't do it, then you got to coach people to do it.
Yeah.
So,
That's why we're here.
which is fundamentally what I am as a coach. I just kind of work in the realm of helping people navigate after they've seen Dr. Estes over here, and they're like, hey man, I'm not back to where I need to be. I can't necessarily do everything I want, but I'm not in the state of acute need for physical therapy. So they come in and we go, oh, okay, well, let's look at everything and let's get everything back to full function versus just out of pain. And that requires sometimes them looking at things that most of the time, like you guys see in the clinic or in the gym, that they didn't even know were a problem.
Yep.
And it also requires something that Donnie can speak to, I'm sure, is that you're like, this is going to take a while. Like for you, they're like, do I need to do this forever? Pretty much. Yep. So, especially for folks who've kind of neglected it for a long time. Mm-hmm. Let's just say usually your worst candidates are like your weekend warrior who's like, I don't really want to have to exercise to paddle surf or something.
That's right.
Anyway, so we have a lot of fun with that. And then also the other side of it is then when folks have decided they're better, they stay, they want to maintain their quality of life for as long as possible. So I've had a lot of clients for like 15 years that their whole thing is like, you are a weekly part of my lifestyle to maintain my function. So then their life becomes a sport. And so that's kind of how we've always treated it at my place. And we treat it that way and do the same kind of needs analysis you would for any other sport. And it changes. And you got to listen to these folks and make sure you get them doing stuff like real strength athletes, even though, guess what? You're just mom, dad, grandpa. Like, oh my God, everyone ends up having to train like a strength athlete.
Lifting weights?
Lifting weights.
No
way! Unbelievable.
Believe it or not,
I can't believe that he does the same thing that we do. It's
weird. It's weird. Like, they're all human beings.
That everyone.
So there's a word that if I were to describe my philosophy is the word sustainability.
Yeah,
that's what I teach, and that's what I'm hearing by you saying that it's not just 6 weeks while I can get in shape and go get this wedding and then
100%
back out to what I was. Lifestyle sustainability.
And pretty much don't even entertain helping people in that scenario.
Yeah.
I literally just kind of send them down to the next person, and then when they get really hurt, they come back.
That's
and then
how
it's okay.
Hayes
Then
and
we're
I
ready.
work
Then we're ready. Then people are open to be
There's
coached.
many people he won't send to me because he knows beforehand that they're not for that facility.
No.
And that's the same.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
No.
Yeah.
There are plenty of people out there that will take the 6-week challenge people.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Go for it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's not me, not you.
The weird thing is that, like, once you get your people that are the lifetime people or long-term people committed to it, then if you have a 6-week situation, it's okay.
It's easy
because
fix.
you've earned the base of function that you can go.
That's
oh my
right.
God, like I really gotta go hike this mountain, or I gotta go do a wedding.
Done.
Then it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But then they roll right back to what they were doing.
There you go. Speaking Great segue. Speaking
Speaking of which.
of managing 6-week injuries or flare-ups at a time, the other reason that we have you on today is because you are a member of the crew of I've had a significant injury.
Yes.
Yes. But have you stopped lifting?
Never.
No. Right.
No.
Right.
Yeah, for me, like, it was like all fun and games, and I was helping people and doing everything until. And you were privy to this. You were there for some of this. That was like the beginning of this happening to my back. Is that we were doing some 5-3-1 stuff, and you know, the great idea of like doing max reps on your deadlift.
Yeah.
And so doing, like, I think the week before my back got hurt, it was something silly like 13 reps at like 365 at a body weight of like 195. And that's fine, right? That's cool. Like, especially if the next week you got to beat it.
Yeah.
So
Talk about 5-3-1.
yeah, I was like, I got that. I got 13 reps. I mean, percentage table wise, I'm killing it. That was really light. Technically, I should be able to deadlift 600 pounds.
Yeah.
Somehow it doesn't work that
See
way.
how that works.
So
I wish it
didn't work that way. So I ended up basically getting a disc bulge, your classic L5 S1 disc bulge, where you're like, oh, it's like my leg has a shark in it and it's buzzing, and I can't sit in a car and I can't bend over or do anything like that. So, you know, you'd think I just would avoid everything. Well, first of all, I didn't stop working, which requires us to move weights all day long.
Yeah.
So immediately had to just take some acute care and get some body work and do some anti-inflammatories and everything. But I was able to do everything I could instead of stopping everything.
So the question, to
we'll go deeper into that.
Well, to bring it back to what we're trying to talk about, the topic of the podcast is that we've all had significant injuries.
Yeah.
You know, I'll talk about my ACL tears.
Sure.
You talk about your disc herniation. Donnie's going to talk about his
My
lobotomy.
entire 20s.
But we have not. None of us have stopped lifting.
Well, and you really don't.
Right.
You have two choices. If you do that, because all these significant injuries always take 12 to 18 months to really turn around. If you got better in 6 weeks, you weren't injured.
Yeah.
You were just hurt.
You were hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were hurt, and that's okay. Like, we all get hurt all the time.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing. Is you go, yeah, my elbow hurts, but I'll work around it and it'll get better. It's not actually injured.
Yeah.
But if you're injured, like you need surgery for your knee, or you've had an ice pick up your nose, you know, there's some time around that. So if you waited, you said lobotomy. I'm just saying that's
Not our smart.
all smart.
All right, none of this. All right.
So if I waited 18 months to start doing anything again, am I going to be in a better shape, Doc? Am I going to be in more pain or less pain? I mean, how things are going to go? So
Crap ton of atrophy.
yeah, and like,
exactly.
what else? Like, all of a sudden, like, I've gained a bunch of weight. I don't sleep well. I'm tired all the time. So everything goes to crap. So you'd think that it makes perfect sense that you would make a plan after assessing what's wrong and do everything you can.
Yeah.
And just avoid the thing, just make it worse.
Yeah. Well, let's yes, I agree with all that. I would say let's skip forward out of the acute phase.
Yeah.
Like you've gone to see somebody like me.
Yeah.
We've dealt with the acute stuff. We've got you back to working out. Maybe you're 4 months after the injury. You're done with PT. Maybe it's longer than that. Like you know, my last ACL surgery was 13 years ago. You know, Donnie's, I don't know, when was the last surgery that you had?
I had my left knee operated on in 2016.
Okay,
So-
all right. So 5 years ago, right? So now we are well past, we are in what we call the chronic stage. So Donnie, do you have to do anything before you go and like work out, or you just go ahead and like throw 4 plates on the bar, start squatting?
Just jack.
Yeah, we've got about
straight
a
into
20-minute dynamic stretching and exercising routine to go through before I even think about touching a bar.
Yeah.
That's worse than lifting weights. Right? That's what I look forward to the least.
Everybody
I'd
hates
love
it.
to go straight to the bar like
Yeah.
I was in my 20s, but
Right.
it
So-
ain't gonna happen these days.
But do you still squat?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Weird. Okay, you still deadlift?
Yeah.
Right. You still do single leg strengthening?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Unilateral stuff is key to rehabilitation of a joint, in my opinion. So.
Yeah. So I think that you know, and
And
obviously
that's what I mean, rehabilitation. I'm in
Yes.
constant rehabilitation mode.
Yeah, and I think that was the
Yeah, it
ultimate
waves
point.
in and out
Yes.
of where we are in that stage, and it's okay for it to kind of constantly overlap.
Yes, exactly. So that was kind of the ultimate point of what we're trying to get to, is that look, hopefully you're fortunate enough that you do not have a significant serious injury that requires surgery, like you know I have had, Donnie's had, or something that's put you out of lifting heavy for 12 to 18 months. And so if you do, because if you don't, consider yourself lucky. If you did, we're here to tell you that you can live to lift again, as we like to say. You may have to modify some things, but that's part of being someone who lifts weights, is that you might have to modify things. Maybe you just have like some nagging elbow pain and it's been bugging you for 6-8 weeks. Okay, now I need, assuming that it's been cleared, it's nothing serious, you might have to modify, do different lifts, program a little bit differently, but you can still get the benefit of your workouts, and that's kind of what we're here to say. And we're going to try to use some individual, like what we do individually for our certain, conditions.
Problems. Yeah, without giving
this is what
medical
I do.
advice.
Yes,
We know none of us
yes.
give.
No.
So, like a good example for that for me is like I couldn't do anything where I rounded out my back for a very long time because the bulge was had a scar. It's got to heal. It's going to take time. And luckily, I had enough information for people like Hayes and other check-in student stuff. I was like, well, if I don't piss it off for long enough, it will actually heal up in theory for some folks. So it was worth the time of not just pushing through it. And so with some weird stuff, it's still sketchy in your mind, but you got to do is I was able to tape my back, low back to keep it an extension and do front squats. But I had to do them at a 12-second eccentric down, go so slow and do ones and do singles because the trunk stability, the ab work and the back work that I had to do. Because if I was out of position by a millimeter, so it's sometimes
a
people
12-second eccentric front squat,
and then a 1 second up. No, it's you start with a bar, right? Because
That counts as cardio?
Yeah, that is cardio. By the way.
Yeah, but the
By
funny thing is,
definition.
I wish I could have gone faster. But if I did, it would have been painful.
Stability purposes.
It's no. But what I was trying to say is people are afraid to try. And you have to try, but the other thing is you have to put in the mental work, which is, I think, harder for a lot of folks. They got hurt because they weren't paying attention. I was deadlifting sloppily at the end of those.
It's much easier just to blame it on the exercise.
Yes, it's not the
Deadlift
deadlift's
hurt
fault. The deadlift didn't do anything wrong. So, but then you got to pay the piper on, I did it to myself, especially if you did it lifting. You may have not had that. I mean, I've broken bones that it just happened. And it's got to heal up. But when you did it to yourself in some sort of sport, or especially lifting, you're going to have to reassess and do it, and not moving is going to be the worst thing you can do.
And we've talked about this in previous podcasts, the difference between injuring yourself in training and a contact sport where you have
a collision
there's a variable
Yeah.
there that you can't control.
That's an accident.
That's right. Versus a lifting
injury. And even when you've had an accident, we would never stop lifting everything else we could. I mean, if I'm in a sling and I can do safety bar squats, I'm doing it, and it's fine.
There's that where we can say, all right, well, maybe I'm not going to do this certain type of squat, or maybe I'm not going to do upper body for a while.
Do it all the time.
Also, weirdly, evidence out there that lifting weights has been shown to reduce
Hayes is going to
pain.
do it?
I know. Mind blown.
That's the only reason we keep him around, because he knows the research.
There's a study as recently as last year that showed that people who just deadlifted, and that was their main lift during rehab, compared to a control group of traditional rehab exercises, the deadlifters not only had less pain, also had improved trunk strength. Weird.
Very weird.
Weird.
It's very weird.
So,
and it doesn't matter how you have to change what that movement looks like. You got to do it again too. That's the other thing. So did I stop ever for the rest of my life deadlifting? No. Did I have to find a way that I could do a hinge? And not die. Yes.
Stay in
and
the
that
pattern.
might have been a glute bridge at first.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's fine. So
you're still practicing the pattern.
I'm assuming, though, before your injury, you had some thoracic bend during your deadlift, just like most people. And then all of a sudden, when you have that, you have to get rid of that and lighten it up the way you figure out a way to modify your range of motion.
Right, exactly. So then, reassessing and making a plan, what happened for me is that I was flexible and strong enough, but not to what would be normal orthopedic ranges, all the way. So what I ended up doing, versus having to do the 20-minute warm-up, I did 20 minutes every day of long hold stretches, because I was let's be honest. So you're my hamstrings aren't that tight. No, they are. And so let's be honest. That was the big honesty thing. You're no, they're really not that tight. You're no, they are. So I had to actually own up to that and do it. And so once you start doing that, and you go, oh, magically, it may not be what I was doing, it was me. Once
Yeah.
again,
Weird.
it's important to
All of
look
a sudden the
at
hamstring
you.
starts to
Weird.
lengthen.
Once again.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, this deadlift feels different all of a sudden.
Yeah, once
Yeah.
again, the lift itself
Didn't hurt you.
Yeah,
Didn't hurt you.
and especially if we're talking about training, you did it to yourself.
Yeah, and unlike what your uncle says that bench presses are bad for you because
Yeah.
he hurt himself benching 550 in high school.
Right.
All right, that's not true.
No.
It's how you perform an exercise, and that's something that if you don't understand by now, then we've done a very horrible job of educating.
Yeah.
So-
I think that's the only thing I've heard every time is that, are we going to get stronger today? Like, I think that's...
So Donnie, I have a question for you. You mentioned that you have at least a 20-minute mobility routine just to get loose before
Yep.
you go and you lift massive weights. I mean, you're injured, right?
Constantly.
Yeah, constantly. Do you have your clients who aren't injured do that?
Oh yeah, every client that I have who does a modified dynamic warm up before
they're
they
not injured.
Why
Why?
would you
it's
waste
called
time on that?
Prehab.
Yeah.
Yeah, that word that people
Shouldn't
talk
they walk
about.
on the treadmill for 20 minutes
Yeah, why
before
not?
they
Yeah,
start? That's
what
it, right?
Actually, I'm just going to charge them 30-minute session, 20-minute treadmill.
Yeah.
And the rest of us talking about how the treadmill went.
Yeah.
So that sounds like good, right?
30
But no, you're absolutely right. It's a great point. Every one of my clients that comes in here, and every one of them will tell you this. Not one. Doesn't matter what they're coming after. There is some sort of dynamic warm up that they're doing before they touch any weight in the.
Yeah,
And there's people who will I don't want to do it. I'm like, well, I don't really.
I
care.
don't care. Yeah.
There's a door.
That happens at my place, and what ends up happening is my folks have this is hey, this sheet, after we've done your full assessment and everything and taught your stuff, this is what you need to be doing at home every day.
Yeah.
You're not working out that day, I don't care.
Yeah.
This is your problem. And then if they aren't doing it, like you said, I'm like, well, I guess that's what we're doing today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't do this at
You
home.
didn't know.
Well,
You do this at home,
Yep.
and they're like, I kind of wanted to work on this. I was like, I
I
kind
know
of
you
can't
did.
because you didn't do this.
Yeah.
And it's not their fault. It's just we've been taught something inaccurate
Yeah.
about injury and fitness and brass tacks on what has to happen. When there's 8-minute abs and 6-minute abs. And,
Yeah, they're
you
trying
know.
to sell you a product,
Right.
So that you can shorten and
and
condense this thing into one little thing
Which
and call it a day.
I think
Yeah.
has led to the confusion about how to heal from injuries too, because then they're like, well, why can't I either take the pill or, Doc, I saw you twice, why am I not better?
Yeah.
Donnie, why can't I squat 800 pounds? I've been here a week. There's
Give it 2 weeks.
two. It's just the two. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the super compensation on week 2.
Up the dose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up
So
the
up
UTD
the
method. That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, so what I want to do with our
You're gonna go off on freaking rants again.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna do that. I'm gonna rein it in.
Gotta
I'm gonna
rein
rein
it
it
in.
in.
Thanks
I'm
for
gonna rein
being
it in.
irresponsible
So
nowadays.
I want. I know. Well, let me finish my protein shake. And then yeah. So what I want to do? Let's take 2 minutes. I want each of us to go through. If you don't mind, telling if you don't mind, just giving people your medical history. Tell us.
No HIPAA shit here.
Yeah. Tell us kind of
Don't
like,
bring
all
on
right,
the HIPAA.
say this is the injury I've had. Tell us what you've done, what you had to do in the immediate afterward, and then tell us what you have to do years later to still be able to perform the way that you are,
Yeah.
the way that you do.
I have a fantastic one. This is going to be a great story of what not to do and what to do.
Perfect.
So
That is how it works.
In 2000,
That's why you're here.
In 2016, I was training for the I can't remember APF Nationals. There were. Alert! I won.
Oh what? No, man! I have it on DVR.
Yeah, there you go.
God.
Injured
That's
and
a
you
boring
won.
one. Yes, let's get through that. So one Sunday morning in early in the brutal winters of Florida, I was squatting and I didn't warm up because it was 50 degrees out, and I wasn't warming up properly. And I had my silkies on.
Okay,
It was,
good. Just
Just
checking.
showing as much leg as
I
possible
know.
here, and that's what we do. And I was a 225 warm up set, and I felt a little tweak in the old groin. And looking back, it was an adductor tear, but I just kept going, of course, because I'll get through it. And then I realized
warm up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Just keep
I
squatting.
did have
Yeah.
a tear. But at the same time, I was focused on going to nationals. So I continued that training cycle for another 3 months through this tear, and it was brutal. And I did do well.
This is before you knew me.
This was
so.
this was I knew
Before
better.
there was
I
hope
knew
to be
better.
had.
But here's
Yeah.
what most of you guys are going through. If you have a goal, you don't want to deviate from that goal, right?
Yeah, you're locked in.
Like, we're locked in here. I'm going to nationals. We're doing this. All right. So I did. I went to nationals and I squatted. My whatever I needed. I can't remember the number was to get my for my age and weight. I won. but the ramifications I dealt with afterwards were not worth it. So, and I still, to this day, am very cautious of warming up. That's part of it is warming up, especially with my hip issues from when I was a child and stuff. I have to be very cautious of that. So it's a tale of what not to do, but also now it's taught me, before I even go put a bar on my back, I'm going to make sure that there is not going to be, there's going to be a significantly reduced injury potential.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Don't push through the pain.
Don't push through the pain.
yeah.
Well,
I mean, you didn't win, so you know.
You did win.
That's what I'm saying.
And,
Like,
I mean, sometimes in that situation, it's tough too because if you have somebody locked in, it might be okay to have an injury and work around it to get through your competition, and then you do have to address it afterwards. So it's always a delicate thing. For me, I had no excuse other than I just wanted to be much stronger than I was, and so I was just trying to do the best I could to do that. And then when I hurt my low back, I was like, oh, okay, well now that's not going to work, and it's not going to get better by itself in a couple of weeks. So I did the classic stuff you needed to do in the beginning, where I got some therapy and I was stretching and taking non-steroidals and all that stuff. But really, the thing is the longer stuff. Like, oh crap, now we're in a month 3, 4. I got to make sure I'm in the perfect posture all the time. I've got to stretch my hips all the time. If I'm going to sit down for more than an hour, I'm probably have to do a bunch of hip stretching. If I'm going to get in a plane or in a car, and I'm going to have to get out and lay on my belly and do McKenzie stuff that just happened to work for me. And from then on, once we went through the strengthening and that spinal position was better and everything got better from there, I still can't push that loading in that flex position because it is still going to always be a weak point. So it pretty much throws out some options for me that are gone for certain positions for my back.
Okay.
But
you have to stop
it's
deadlifting.
durable. Oh, just deadlift better.
Yeah.
Deadlift better.
Smarter.
Better deadlift.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy. It's just better training overall.
Yeah.
So
The gift of injury, like Dr. McGill says.
Right,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
I would assume you would say what's the biggest indicator that of where you're going to get hurt? You've already got hurt there before.
Yes.
So you already have an injury. So this isn't going
Don't
away.
put me on the spot
Don't
like
put me on the
that.
spot
You
like
make
that.
an answer.
It's hey, you're the doctor.
He doesn't have research.
I don't
for
have
that.
research.
I'm thinking
So-
about what I'm going to say. I'm not listening to you.
Exactly. And then I had to do annoying things that I still do, which is instead of the warm up that's that long, I have to do stuff at the end when I don't want to, which is I got to do long holds and an isometric back extension.
And to be fair enough, I should be doing that as well.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I'm not.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm definitely not, and I should be. There's no doubt about it.
Right. It doesn't hurt yet.
So I think we've heard
Yet.
yes,
It's the optimal word.
Yes. So the running theme is consistency, and I'm just going to follow that up with my story. So I have had 2 ACL tears and reconstructions, and 2 same left knee. As a result, I now have limited. I definitely have different I have definitely quad atrophy in my left compared to my right. But more importantly, I'm limited in terms of I got to really work hard on my knee extension, because I'm pretty sure I have a Baker cyst back behind my knee, in the back of my knee as well, and so I'm my calf is always very, very, very tight.
Yep.
My ankle is actually decent, but my calf is super tight. My popliteus might actually be a little bit restricted in there as well. So I got to do what that also affects is the screw home mechanism. When I go to extend my knee, which is probably a reason why my quad is not as firing as well as I like it to. So I actually do a bunch of stuff like foot intrinsic work, Jefferson squats, working on foot tibial tibial external rotation, try to get that knee extension so that I can just go and squat. And so every single time that I go before I work out, regardless if I'm squatting or not, I'm doing some weird movements to work on that type of stuff. And my squat has consistently improved. Part of programming as well, but has steadily improved over the past 5, 6, 7 years. Just knowing better what I should do and sticking to it. Now.
And that's interesting with the foot thing, is that was probably the etiology of my back in the first place, because I've got my right foot is soft. I've got hypermobile rotation in my tibia, so the whole thing collapsed in, and then it rotated my back during the deadlift. And so I had this side flexion, and we're doing those things that everybody does them now. They still do alternating
over under.
Yeah, for 13 reps and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I'm
those
just
things.
working really hard on my lats.
Yeah.
But
But it's a silly thing, but an amazing thing. You start doing,
when you do that
floating
all
heat,
the time.
You do it all the time.
Yeah.
the floating, talking about your intrinsic stuff, doing some, I have to do that too. Like I can't not do,
Yep.
that's a good example for me for my
Yep.
back injury that you don't think about is like if my right foot gets weak, I will tweak my right
Yep.
back again. Like,
So if
there's
you're
no-
not sure, if you're still injured, you're not sure what you need to do on a consistent basis. Well, that's where we come in.
Yeah.
So call one of us.
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let somebody help you figure out what's wrong with you so
Yeah.
that you can make it
Yeah.
better forever
Li-
instead
living
of just
in-
putting band-aids on it
Yeah.
and it never really being different.
Yeah.
It's
Living in pain or
just-
saying I can never do this lift again is not the way.
That's actually to me worse than living in pain,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Saying
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
never do this again.
Yeah.
Especially if it's something you truly enjoy. That most people would rather live in pain while they're doing something they enjoy
Yeah.
than
Sure.
being precluded from being able
Dude,
to
yeah,
do something.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you get to that point, honestly, call a professional.
yeah.
Anybody.
Yeah, and we're in Clearwater and Charleston, but it doesn't matter. Somebody that looks like they.
You need a coach.
Sounds like they know what
you
they're
need
talking
a
about.
you need a doc. You need a coach. You need
Yeah.
somebody to help you with it. Because was it easier to do by yourself, guys, on yourself, or would it have been nice to have some
I
help?
mean,
it's
it's
doable.
always nice.
But
to have
wouldn't it have
some
been nice to
I
like
think a
look
lot
at it
of
and go
times
like
in this
just do the
profession,
work?
We tend to be like, oh, we can do it, not look too professional.
Yeah.
And even if we know it, it is nice to have a second set of eyes.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. Somebody reassure you it's okay.
So speaking of, I'm going just for time's sake, in case you guys haven't fallen asleep. We're gonna hold off on the bro science and pet peeves for the next episode. Where can they find a fantastic coach such as yourself, Justin? Where can they find you?
They can find me at AspireCharleston .com. So that's where we're at, and I'm in Mount Pleasant is basically part of Charleston, South Carolina. So if you're looking for me, you can check out the website and give me a call or shoot me an email at aspirecharleston@gmail.com.
Do you have some crazy like Instagram or Facebook stuff too?
No,
no, nothing crazy. Like
Yeah,
we just
no.
like.
I don't do
Gets
all
down
that.
here, Florida,
He's
screws
like-
up.
It's a shadow.
He's
it's a
probably too
shadow-
busy working while
Yeah.
we're screwing around on
Yeah.
Instagram.
I kind of have like a shadow practice, like,
Yeah.
and that it's like a funny thing around town where they're like, oh, you get to go to that guy.
Yeah.
So it's like we don't.
It is true.
I would.
It's true.
I don't not. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a funny thing.
Just because
But we like it that way because then we can
Yeah.
do the real deal and,
I know.
and nobody's trying
That's
to
because
put
Justin
on airs.
Justin is actually very, very good at what he does.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Unlike us.
Oh my gosh,
That's not
we have
true.
to put
That's not
podcasts
We do all this
together.
stuff. To
Yeah,
look
to
smart.
jump
He
up.
actually is
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right.
Yeah.
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 Good.
All right, Donnie, where can they find your smart stuff?
Not on the Instagram anymore, I guess.
No,
because-
Instagram.
Yeah.
The
I guess I
cool
gotta
kids
shut
black
that
out
down.
their Instagram.
Is that what happens?
Yeah.
The smarter you are, I mean, yeah.
You're
No.
on TikTok now?
Yeah, I'm on TikTok. Yeah, that's where I'm going. So I'm going after the
You have your Snap
yeah.
handle.
Instagram.com/Donnie Kiernan and Facebook.com/Strength and Performance, which is my studio right here in Clearwater, Florida, where we are filming from. Not live.
Not live.
Is it live?
But alive.
Oh yeah.
Alive.
Well, maybe.
Not live.
All right. I am
Yeah.
Dr. Hayes
We're live.
Estes. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, owner of Premier Physical Therapy. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/PT and Sports Therapy. We're also on Instagram at, here's Ashley's favorite part, at Run Tampa Bay. That's Run Tampa Bay.
Run the bay.
We're out!
She puts in all the little sound
Yeah.
effects.
Yeah.
He looks
I
like
want
an idiot.
more, Ashley.
Yeah.
I do much more. I expect more of you. Where are more of the sound effects? Just, what are you doing? Working?
I mean, is the next step you're gonna have 3 cameras going? She's got to edit them all
Yeah,
together.
one over here
Yeah.
and one over there.
I'm sorry for you.
Yeah.
This you have to do this regularly.
I mean,
So like you could train as hard as them, you wouldn't be in
Yeah,
too
maybe
thick.
not.
You'd just be great.
Yeah.
Like you said, you'd just be sexy.
Yeah, that's it. And then, wow. Oh, no, that sucks.
Just try to get really strong.
Oh no, I'm already too sexy.
Oh,
I can't get any sexier.
Can't do it.
Come on, like a.
And dodgeball, he's like, just the biggies. Just the biggies. Like spotting them. He's just using the biggies.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Spotting just the pinkies. Yeah.
Just the biggies.
So you
So you're just gonna be doing this the whole time.
God, that would hurt to stay like that the whole time.
That gentleman down there, Donnie.